with being, again, adopted into a family from a different culture, a different part of the world, in your experience, how did you navigate like being a part of both cultures, right? Because now, like, both of those cultures are yours.
Right.
It's not like them and me. Like same thing for our son. Trey is going to be both from Lauren's family and from my family background. So, like, in your experience, how did you navigate those cultural differences, but also make the connections with both?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think throughout this conversation, I think I need to preface my answer with, I was truly blessed to have parents who loved the Lord, who loved each other, and who loved us deeply. And so that is not everybody's story, but that happens to be mine. And so, so much of my family and cultural bringing was because we had parents who cared about both worlds. So culturally, I was raised actually Norwegian.
Right.
We celebrated, Norwegian Independence Day. We celebrated our Christmas holiday in a very Norwegian style. I spent lots of time in Norway with my dad's family. And so that was a huge part of our lives. My mom she loved that. And so there are things that I do to this day with my family that are Norwegian, because it's how I was raised. It's part of me. And then on the other side, of course, we were very American. We did the Halloween, we did the Thanksgiving, we had the 4th of July. So we kind of were all over the map when it came to like American or Norwegian culture. That being said, again, my parents were very hands-on in sharing the Latino culture with us as best as they could. Neither of them were Latino, right? And so it's not like they didn't speak Spanish. They didn't have any inkling of what really went on. But they sure tried. So for instance, my mom would try to cook with like Latin spices. She would make new meals, and she would go to the Colombian section of the cookbook and try that kind of meal. She'd do the same with Chile. She'd do the same with Guatemala. We listened to a lot of different music that came from those countries. So she tried to integrate things that were part of what would have been our heritage had we stayed in our respective countries. For instance, Cinco de Mayo, which is a Mexican holiday, right? So it wasn't even ours, but America does it really well, sort of. So, every 5th of May, we would have a big party because why not? All the Latinos are. And so she would try. She would really try to, if there was anything that looked remotely like Latin American, she would get us involved in that thing. There was an exhibit in Albany, and it was a Hispanic painter. Again, I don't remember who it was, but she was like, "We're going, like, this is part of who you should know who this is." So she was always very excited about it. And then when we were probably, I would say in 2nd grade, she was really very attentive in trying to teach us Spanish, which is hard to do when you're in school without having an immersion. It can be done, but it's hard. So again, I was raised with a very, she would try so hard to show us what it could have been like, the colors, the sounds, the music, their holidays, the flags. So I think, my mom, she never shied away from it. It was never too loud. For instance, you both knew me in my younger days. Like, I grew up in a very Hispanic part of town. So it's very Puerto Rican. And, all of those girls have their own flair for all of the things. It was the nails, it was the hair, it was the big gold earrings. And I loved it. But we lived on a farm, 15 miles outside of town. But I loved that. And I played basketball for the town. And I can remember being like, Mom, like, I want those nails. And I remember having like sort of a trepidation about it. And she was like, okay, let's go get you the nails. And that was huge for me because I thought she was going to say no. We were a very conservative family. And instead, she saw that as a part of me trying to fit into something that I wasn't quite a part of. And like, so I think, again, to my parents' credit, um, when it came to trying to integrate us or like pay attention to things that we were drawn to, some of is just nature. We have this nature versus nurture. Some of who I am is just, it's because I'm Colombian 100%. And it's not because of my parents. And so like my mom and my parents were very like, yeah, let's go do that thing. If you love it, if you love the gold hoops, we'll get them for you. If you want the Fat Farm shoes, let's do it. Y'all remember Fat Farm?
Hey, I used to have Fat Farm cologne. Okay.
Oh my, yeah. I hear you. So I think, they, again, to their credit, they did a really good job with that. So I grew up having a knowledge of both, I guess, all three, like the American, the Norwegian, and a really hearty attempt at what Latino culture might have been like.